coroner has confirmed there'll be a full coronial inquiry into the Christchurch massacre. 51 people died when a man opened fire on 2 mosques in March of 2019. The inquiry will look into the role that the internet and social media played in radicalising the shooter. Coalition for Safer Web Vice President Eric Feinberg is with us to discuss this morning. Eric, good morning.
Good morning to you.
If, and it seems likely, Eric, they will conclude that the internet did have a role in radicalising him, there's not a hell of a lot that can be done against these companies.
Well, thanks to laws here in the United States, which I think supersede New Zealand law, which is Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996, no provider will be held responsible for content posted to its platform. So that's the problem, is you're dealing with CDA 230 here, which protects these platforms from posts from, third parties.
Is that fair? I mean, I suppose I look at it like the town square. I mean, if somebody was yelling radical things in a town square, you wouldn't necessarily hold the council responsible, would you?
Well, I make the analogy that when it was done in 1996, it's the bulletin board. Thanks to the algorithm and how information is spread through these social media platforms, it's not the bulletin board, it's actually the paper, pen, and tack. So that's where I think it's a little different. And, you can't yell fire in a town square.
True. So is there a way that we will ever stop this radical content from being put online? Is there a way these companies could ever stop it from being put online?
No, they can't, because I'm actually doing testing with them right now. And with the millions and millions of billions of dollars they have at their disposal, my small group is actually finding and sending to them radicalized content that we pick up that they're unable to pick up. And until they embrace third-party flaggers or audits like ourselves, and hopefully, they're listening to what we're sharing with them. No, because they're not astute and to anticipate this nefarious content.
What are you finding?
Finding a lot of hate speech, Russian propaganda tied to QAnon, with calling out certain leaders in Ukraine, pedophiles, certain things around the past U.S. election, the current, state of U.S. politics, and of course, hate speech against, Jews, blacks, or minority groups, using racial slurs.
This is stuff that you're finding that the companies aren't. You send it to them. Are they responding to you?
Yes, but it's not the right way to do it. We're operating from behind. The right way to do this is kind of to anticipate. There's a certain profile, a characteristic that this nefarious content has. And if you understand the characteristics or the tells or the code used by this, you can anticipate it and actually block or sandbox this before it gets online.
How do you predict where it's going to come from? How could you do that?
Because there's certain words, if you understand, like in the sense of QAnon, they have certain codes or key hashtags that they use combined with known QAnon hashtags that you pick it up and you see, based on what it is, that it's QAnon.
Right. So this is going to take a concerted and funded effort to understand these groups, first and foremost, to understand their language and then to use that to block them. Right.
So if you understand when somebody uses a certain type of language, you understand to look at it and then go into more depth of the account and the personality of who it is, and then you can sandbox it before it gets on.
Do you think the Christchurch terror video, the one that the shooter shot himself, do you think that's still on Facebook, YouTube, the internet somewhere?
It's still up. It's still up. The last time I checked, there's about a dozen of them still up on Facebook and Instagram. Last time I checked a few weeks ago, there was about a dozen of them still up and available.
A dozen of the shoot at the March 15 terror video still on Facebook and Instagram now in 2022, 3 years later.
Yeah. And the only reason why a majority of them came down is for third-party NGOs like ours sharing them with the press, who then went to Facebook to take them down.
Eric, thank you very much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it. Coalition for a Safer Web Service, Vice President Eric Feinberg with us. 6:15. We had the Christchurch call. We had, big talk about internet safety and about how we would take radical content off the internet. And for that video to still be online 3 years later, 12 of them, on Facebook and Instagram, where we all spend a lot of our time, I don't know, is it shocking? Not really.
Well, what's the excuse? Because in this day and age, technology surely is the push of a button, is it not?
No, apparently not.
Well, if Facebook and Instagram don't know it's there, that's a problem. And if they do know it's there and they haven't done anything about it, that's even worse.